What's up, everyone? This is your host, Ghost, coming to you live with another wonderful video. How is everyone doing today? I'm doing well myself. Sorry for the late start. Busy trying to get everyone together. Um, well, try and get people up and about in my home. Um, how's everyone doing? I'm doing good myself. All right, we got a few things we're gonna talk about. We're gonna check out Biden's SCOTUS reform. Uh, very pure and only political stunt that he's doing because there's no way anything he wants is going to get passed at all because it requires constitutional amendment. So it's a purely political move. Like, hey, look, I try to do something. Give me a pat on the back. That's all it is. Um, so we'll check that out. And then, of course, I didn't realize how short it was. So I was just going to do some clips, but I found the full interview, and apparently it's only like 26 minutes. So we'll probably check out the full interview Trump did with Laura Ingraham. Um, unless it turns out to be something completely different, that should be fine. And then we're gonna check out the debate between Sneako and Moist Critical. Um, here's the thing, like I listened to the debate, and it just kind of really focused on one thing, really, and centered around that one particular thing. And it's an hour long debate or 2 hour long debate, and they pretty much don't really move further past the initial point. So I figured instead of just listening to it, I just click on the clips that went viral, the two clips that went viral, and kind of pretty much sealed the point, really. Yeah, yeah. Kirk Tuss says Sneako killed him. I agreed. Uh, but I'm not gonna have us listen to the full debate just because they kind of just stayed on one thing, and it's in those clips that you got. Uh, and so it's kind of pointless in my opinion just to watch the actual full debate. Which you're more than welcome. Good, you can if you want to go on Sneako's channel in on Rumble. Which I'll probably I didn't put in my description, but I'll put it in the description for those who want to go watch it. Um, but yeah, it just focused on one thing that kind of ended up being the whole thing. So it's pointless in my opinion to watch the 2 hour debate for no reason. So we'll do that, and then we'll check out. Uh, apparently, Moist Critical's breaking down after his debate, so we'll check out that. Um, and then lastly, we'll check out Black Man who's speaking up about how Kamala Harris wrongfully convicted him with a 50-year to life sentence. Speaking when Kamala Harris was DA. So my favorite part when Moist explained to Sneako that Nick isn't Sneako's friend. It's funny. No, my favorite part is the two clips I'm going to show you because it kind of ended like Moist just kind of bodied himself really. Um, it was stupid. So, all right, let's get into it. So let's check out Biden and his pure political stunt of the Supreme Court reform. Oh, actually, before I get into it, make sure you follow me on X at official W Ghost. That's the best way to find out when I go live. And you could also watch me live if you choose to do so. And then, of course, regardless of where you're at, go to rumble.com/withghost and give me a follow, like there. Rumble is the last bastion of free speech, I actually think. And yeah. And then, of course, youtube.com/@withghost is the YouTube. All right. I'm actually getting some headway. I got like 30 people, 30 subscribers, which is what's up. I didn't realize that till I was looking at my analytics the other day. By happenstance, I wasn't really trying to focus on them. And then twitch.tv/official with ghost is Twitch. So check me out there. Of course, I have a gaming channel. Haven't really been gaming much, so haven't had any time really. But for Rumble, it's Gaming with Ghosts. For YouTube, it's at official Gaming with Ghosts. The links is to all the various places that you can watch me is in the description of my videos. And make sure you like the video, regardless. All right, let's listen to Biden. 31. Oh, I appreciate that. I'm assuming that means you gave me a follow. Appreciate it, Kirk Tess. All right, let's check out. Oh, shoot. There we go. So again, we're a nation of laws, not kings and dictators. Okay. All right, Biden. So let's listen to what Biden has to say about his totally not a political stunt that will do absolutely nothing.
There's increasing threats to American democratic institutions. I use the commission's analysis, and today I'm calling for 3 bold reforms to restore trust and accountability.
No, it's not bold reforms. It's 3 useless reforms.
Accountability to the court and our democracy. As the press shouted to me as I got off Air Force One, the Republican Speaker of the House said, whatever he proposes is dead on arrival. Well, I think his thinking is dead on arrival.
What the fuck? Was that supposed to be clever? What the fuck did he say? What he's thinking is dead on arrival. What? Look. What the fuck? These people are really trying to stroke this guy.
I'm calling for a constitutional amendment called No One is Above the Law Amendment.
It's a crappy amendment.
I mean this sincerely. It holds that there's no immunity for crimes former president committed while in office. I share.
The funny thing here is, is what Biden is so dumb about. I mean, maybe it's because there's been some speculation he's actually dying, so that's what I've been hearing so far. But what's so dumb about this is this could literally this could literally mean that he could get prosecuted for shit. Like, how dumb are you? Like, it's so dumb. Like, oh yeah, let's make it so you can be be charged, get found, get charged criminally by for things in office while you're president. Like, this is so dumb. Like, you could get charged yourself, Biden. And also passing, like, I don't know if many people know this, passing a constitutional amendment takes a lot. So the most common is, and how 26 out of 27 amendments were passed are the each House of Congress must pass it with a 2/3 majority. That happens, the amendment is then sent to a state legislator for their approval. Here again, how another even larger supermajority is required. 3/4 of all state legislators must vote to approve the proposed amendment before it is considered ratified and added to the Constitution. This means that only 13 states can block a proposed amendment from being ratified. So that's the most common way of passing an amendment. And by the way, his entire, at least the first 2, I would say probably even the third, all of them would have to really end up being passed with a constitutional amendment, because what he doesn't understand is his other proposals. It's not something that they can just do. They'd have to pass another amendment, which he doesn't understand. So,
our founders' belief.
So somehow he thinks he's going to get 2/3 majority in the House, and then 3/4 in the state legislature. That's what he thinks he can get to get presidential removal of presidential immunity.
The president must answer to the law. The president is accountable for the exercise of the great power of the presidency. We're a nation of laws, not kings and dictators. The decision can be boiled down to the title of one case, Trump versus the United States. The court asserted it was making a ruling for the ages. That isn't true. The court made a ruling for one, a former president.
Yeah, and all presidents. What are you talking about? Like this applies to all presidents, past, future, present. So it wasn't just like, I don't know, like this is a really bad talking point because it wasn't just about Trump. Like you could have had like any president go up there, and like Obama, Bush, Carter, Biden, whoever. You could have picked any of them, and Congress or not Congress, Supreme Court would still pass. Yeah, you can't. President or the president has immunity from crimes done in office. Nation of selectively enforced laws. Yeah. Enforced on thee, but not me.
No other president in our history has asked for this kind of immunity for criminal actions.
It's because no other president in history has ever been persecuted by his political opponent. Because what people don't understand is presidents have always had immunity. Okay, presidents had always had immunity. It just wasn't official because it was all basically it was all like run by a handshake and a wink. So basically, an incoming president would say to the outgoing president, "Hey, look, not really officially, but with in so many words, hey, look, we're not going to go after you politically for what you did during office. We're just going to leave you alone. You can enjoy your retirement. Peace out." All right, that's how it was ran for pretty much the beginning of our country until 2020, 2021, or whenever Trump was first started going after it legally. So no one would go after, no incoming president would go after their outgoing president because, it would lead to it happening to them. So presidents have always had presidential immunity. The only reason we needed to make it official, was because this president here, Biden, started going after his political opponent for things he did in office. Or, that's pretty much what happened. So then, no one no president in history needed to come back with a presidential immunity or request presidential immunity. It's because all presidents had it, and no one went after the political opponents. So when you change something, then you're going to have to change your entire law. So, like if you're in a small village and no one had no one had been murdered. You guys understood what murder was, but no one has ever been murdered since the founding of your village, and so you had no laws on murder because you're like, hey, we all understood, hey, we're not going to murder anyone. And then one day someone decides to murder their neighbor. Well, then you're going to have to change the laws with this new thing that hasn't been a thing since the start of your village. It's the same thing here. Presidents have always had immunity. We always understood what immunity was, and presidents would be like, look, unless you got impeached, we're not going to go after you for what you did in office. Simple as that.
And no president, no former president, not me, not one.
Hold on. You're not a former president. You've never been a former president. You're a current president. Although now you will be a former president since you dropped out of the race.
One should have been given any exception to this with such immunity.
This exception isn't given just to Trump. It's given to all presidents afterwards. Like Trump can't go after you if he's the next president. Okay. No, it's not just one person, but whatever.
The second thing I'm asking for, we've had term limits for presidents of the United States for nearly 75 years after the Truman administration. And I believe we should have term.
After the Truman administration? No. No. That's not true. It wasn't the Truman administration. It was Eisenhower. Eisenhower? me just make sure I was right. How did I say? Oh, FDR. Sorry. Franklin D. Roosevelt. Yes, it was Franklin D. Roosevelt. Okay. So that's when term limits were set, which is during his presidency. Now, I think he died in office, and then Truman came in and took over. But it wasn't the Truman administration; it was Roosevelt. And when Congress made the 25th, or was it not 25th? But whatever. When Congress made that amendment, you know what they did? They made it so it only happened when Roosevelt was done being president. Meaning, if he still was alive and kept getting reelected, it would only happen until he was no longer reelected. That's what's going on. But it was Roosevelt's administration. And you know what? It specifically says in the Constitution that just Supreme Court justices are appointed for life. Okay. You know what doesn't say in the Constitution? Like there wasn't, a term limit for presidents. There wasn't, how many times the president could be elected. There's none of that. So that was something that could, I think could have easily been, we can put term limits on president. There's nothing in there, but there's something specifically that says that term limits, that there's no term limits on justices. They're appointed for life. So again, you would need another constitutional amendment. So again, that would require 2/3 majority in Congress, and then it would require a 3/4 majority in state legislators. Okay, for that amendment to even pass. So now he's trying to get two amendments passed. That's not going to work.
Term limits for Supreme Court justices of the United States as well.
And again, if we're going to put term limits on anyone, probably should be Congress. They're the ones that affect us probably far more. Supreme Court, and here's what, couple of cases a year. I don't know how many exactly, but they only hear a certain amount of cases during the year, and they rule on that. Now, Democrats have lost a couple of important Supreme Court rulings. So they lost a couple. So now they're throwing a tantrum, saying, "Well, now we need to get term limits in there." That's all this is.
In fact, the United States is the only major constitutional democracy.
We're not a constitutional democracy. We're a constitutional republic.
There's lifetime seats in their high court. Term limits would help ensure that the court membership changes with some regularity. That would make timing for the court's nomination more predictable and less arbitrary.
And you know why justices are appointed for life? They're appointed for life, so their decisions aren't going to be influenced with an upcoming election every X amount of years. How often they get elected? Okay, that's why it's an appointed position, and that's why there's lifetime appointments. So I guess my question, and you see, I don't have a question that, but and you see that happen now with Congress. Their opinions will change depending on what the shift in the voting is. Simple as that. So that's why justices are supposed to be lifetime appointments, so their rulings won't be influenced by a hopeful re-election shit.
Sure. Reduce the chance that any single presidency imposes undue influence in generations to come. The bipartisan commission I convened analyzed various term limit structures. Based on their report, I believe the best structure is the 18-year term limit. That would help ensure the country would not have what it has now. An extreme court that's proud of an attack on the confirmation process that's been weaponized by those.
So like what? Like maybe he's just saying you get appointed for 18 years and then you get removed, or do you have to be continue? Regardless, there's a reason. Again, justices are supposed to be appointed for life. Regardless, it's in the Constitution.
Seeking to carry out an extreme agenda for decades to come. By the way, these guys mean it. These guys mean it. Project 2025 is real. They mean it. Third, I'm calling for binding code of conduct for the Supreme Court.
Again, how would you do this? How would you enforce? Like, what's to stop the Supreme Court from like any of the for any of this to be like, nah. Like, you try to do a code of conduct and they're like, nah. Like, you don't have that power over the Supreme Court. They govern themselves. You may not like that, but that's how it works. Again, this is a complete and pure political stunt. None of this is going to happen. I'm pretty sure for all of these, you're going to have to pass a constitutional amendment for all of these. So, again, you're going to have to get 3 amendments and, 2/3 majority in Congress. That's not going to happen. 3/4 of state legislators. That's not going to happen either. So, only 13 states are needed to block a proposed amendment from being ratified.
Supreme Court's current ethics code is weak and even more frightening, voluntary. Any code of Congress must be enforceable. Under the reform I propose, justice would be required to disclose gifts.
Again, how would you enforce that, Biden?
Refrain from public political activity. Recuse themselves in cases in which they or their spouses have a financial or other conflict of interest.
And again, like, even with all this stuff, something this particular, okay, what's going to constitute financial or political, because they're trying to make it seem like Justice Thomas's wife, because she supports Trump, any decision regarding Trump that Justice Thomas needs to recuse himself. Doesn't make any sense.
Most people don't realize that Congress passed a law decades ago that says all federal judges, including Supreme Court justices, have to recuse themselves in such cases. But the current justices insist on enforcing that requirement themselves without any public oversight or compulsion.
Yeah.
See, that's their decision. They don't have to tell us how they made it. That might work. The court was actually enforcing those requirements, but they are not.
There's none of these complaints at all. When Democrats were winning, now that they've lost a few decisions, this is what happens. They lose a few decisions, and they're losing their freaking minds. It's hilarious.
The court is not self-policing. The court is not dealing with the obvious conflicts of interest. We need a mandatory code of ethics for the Supreme Court, and we need it now.
Again, it's just a pure political stunt. None of that's actually going to happen. None of that could possibly happen. There's nothing they're going to do. Again, they'll have to pass like 3 different amendments, or or they'll wrap it all in one, and they still won't pass regardless. So it really doesn't matter, and it's just a pure political stunt. Like, hey, people love me. So. All right, let's check out the interview with Trump and Laura Ingraham. Let's check this out.
President, first, I would like to say a belated congratulations for retiring Joe Biden, at least from the campaign. And now the polls are coming out for his replacement after a whirlwind positive press for Kamala Harris. But the Real Clear Politics average shows you up at about 1.75%, 7% over her. But before the debate, Biden was 1.5 points behind. So you've actually slightly grown your lead on the national poll. So how do you keep Republicans positive and not buying into kind of the negative publicity that they're seeing?
I think she's a worse candidate than him. She's far more radical left. She is younger. I mean, she's 60 years old. A lot of people, I didn't realize she was 60. I thought she was a little younger, but she's 60. She is talking a big game, but her game is pretty bad. I mean, she was the border czar. She's trying to pretend that she wasn't. You know, it's an amazing thing that's happened too, because we did a long time
ago. It's an evolution, Mr. President. That yes, she was more progressive in 2020, but that she's moved to the middle on a number of these issues, and they're making a concerted effort to show kind of a new Kamala 2.0.
In politics, when you start off saying something, that's where you are. And she was for defund the police. She was for open borders. She was for having anybody come in. Now I notice that they're actually saying they want to have immunity for everybody that came into the country, and they want to have citizenship.
She said that, and she said that she knows that she assumes Kamala Harris would support that. That means citizenship for 10 million, 15 million,
or
20 million?
Yeah, or 20 million.
What would that do to the country?
Destroy the country. It's already, I mean, it's in such bad shape. Our country has never been in a position like this, in addition to which we could end up in a third world war, okay?
It's actually very true. We are in the midst of entering a third world war. We're sending money to Ukraine. We're sending money to Iran, or not Israel. It's a good possibility we could be in a world war. It's the closest we've been in a long, long time.
But we have 20 million people that have come into the country. I would say by now it's 20. It's probably going over that number. We have another 4 months to go, but really it's another 5 months, 5.5 months to go. So that number is going to increase very substantially. They're pouring in and they're coming.
I just want to say that I don't care what the numbers say. I don't care if they say Trump's going to win by a landslide. Whatever you do, go out and vote. Okay, regardless. I don't care how confident you are Trump's going to win or how confident you are Trump's going to lose. Go out and vote. All right, go out and vote regardless.
Coming from prisons, they're coming from mental institutions, insane asylums. I always say that's a step above a mental institution. And we have a record number of terrorists coming into our country, and only bad things are going to happen. Nothing good is going to come out of it.
A big news today is President Biden announcing reforms to the Supreme Court, which include not allowing immunity for presidents, and also new ethics rules. Now, a lot of us who used to clerk at the court believe that that's just a naked attempt to start knocking off conservative justices.
It is.
They didn't even consult Dick Durbin or the Senate Judiciary Committee on any aspect of this. What does this mean to you, what Biden is?
Well, it's a typical Biden con. He doesn't want to give up immunity because if he didn't have immunity, look at all the things he did. The $3.5 million from Russia, all the money he's taken in from China, all of the bad things and the evil things he's done, not to mention that thousands of people killed in the border. Look at the Afghanistan pullout with the worst, most embarrassing day in the history of our country. All of the things he's done that are so bad, he desperately wants immunity. There's no way he would write off immunity for a president.
But this is a really upending of our constitutional structure.
He's doing that.
And a common criticism of you from the left is he's the chaos candidate. He's the chaos former president.
Just the opposite.
And so what does that do to separation of powers if the executive branch can come along and say, oh, no, even though we have constitutional provisions governing the court, that we're just going to do this, or this is what we stand for?
It's going nowhere. They need 75%, and it's going nowhere. He can't get it. He knows that, too. It's just, I think, look.
Is it a bone
They
to the left,
staged a
hard
coup
left?
against the president of the United States. They went in and they told him, you're leaving. You're way down in the polls, 17 points, I think. You know, it's like you're in a fight with somebody and you're really winning, and they take him out and they put somebody else in. Nobody ever heard of this before. This is a coup. They took him. They said, even though you got 14 million votes, you're out. And he said, I'm not going out.
But you're saying that's what they're kind of doing with the court as well?
No, what they're doing is they took him out. He was losing badly. They took him out. He wants something to say. He's sitting there with nothing to do, nobody to talk to. They threw him out. This was a coup, the first one, of the president of the United States.
But Harris endorsed this Supreme
They said
Court
you're leaving.
proposal. She endorsed this Supreme Court
she did.
proposal.
She's a radical
Every 2
left.
years, this is going to change justice.
Well, they're also, the one thing you didn't say, they want to pack the court. What they really want to do more than any of it is pack the court. They want to put in, so I've heard as many as 27. They've gotten up to 27.
That's not in this proposal, but this is a response to their losing on a number of high-profile cases. I mean, not every
She doesn't like that Trump rambles.
case has gone your way or Republicans' ways. Did Republicans ever put forward a series of these types of radical proposals? I don't recall.
They haven't tended to, and we've been behind also. We've been behind in justices, and they don't do this. Actually, FDR did it a long time ago, which was interesting, but it hasn't really happened like this. It's never going to happen. I'll tell you, if I'm president, it doesn't happen. We keep it the way it is, and it's been working very well for a long period of time. I mean, basically, they want to create another Congress. They want to have so many people. Let's just go to another Congress.
I haven't seen you since the assassination attempt on your life. How are you feeling? How are you doing?
I feel good.
New information keeps coming out about how this could have occurred, including text messages among some of the local law enforcement, the SWAT teams that were in place. And most recently, we found out that a local SWAT team member actually spotted Crooks 90 minutes before that first shot went off. And they kept tracking him. They even saw him at one point, maybe 45 minutes before, with the half hour before the shot was fired, with the rangefinder pointing it toward the roof. What's your reaction to this?
Look, I can tell you this. Once the bullets started coming at me, and I got very lucky, I have to.
It is extremely lucky that Trump didn't die that day. It's extremely lucky. Like, literally, had he not been making fun of Biden at the time, Trump would be dead. Trump would be dead.
Attributed to God, because if I didn't turn to the right, and there was no reason to turn to the right except I dropped a big sign on what a great job I'm doing on immigration, right? So the sign's coming down, and I go like this, and it went phew. If I didn't, I wouldn't be talking to you.
You shouldn't have been on that stage. You shouldn't have been allowed to get on that stage.
But I just want to say.
I mean, I can understand what she means by you shouldn't have been on that stage. She's saying, like, there was so much going on that this guy, like, he shouldn't have been put on that stage because it seemed like they all, like, all the Secret Service and officers knew that there was something wrong and all that shit. So you shouldn't have been on that stage. I understand what she's saying. I don't think you should have been on that stage. I just think that sniper shouldn't have taken so long to put a bullet through the dude.
One thing about Secret Service, they were very brave because they were coming, bullets were flying over me because I went down, bullets were flying, and they were on top of me. I had a lot of people on top of me, a lot of very big, strong people on top of me.
And a few women who were like cowering when bullets started flying too.
I want to tell you, and they were very brave. I have to say that. Okay, with that being said, should have been somebody on the roof. There should have been communication with the local police, which there wasn't. So that's a bad thing. And they were seeing this guy who was a very disturbed person, and they were seeing him around. I mean, it's like, how about the people, the Trump fans, the Trumpsters, the woman in the red shirt that was screaming, he's got a gun, that guy's got a gun.
But this information, Mr. President, demonstrates via text messages in real time that they spotted this individual. The local SWAT team member spotted him. They lost track of him. They saw him again. But then we find out there was no pre-planning done between the Secret Service and the local SWAT teams, which is common, which is customary, in addition to the drone flying ahead.
Actually, worse, there was no communication. So they didn't speak to each other. They actually didn't speak. That just came out. Look, it's a terrible thing. Should have been somebody up there. Now, the Secret Service shooter, the Secret Service sniper, it was amazing what he did with one bullet. He took him out, and that was an amazing shot he made. I heard it was like an incredible shot, much further away. It would have been good if it was 9 seconds sooner. We lost one great person and two people were very badly hurt, and now they're doing okay, and we're in communication with them. They're doing pretty good. They're doing very good. I thought they were going to die. I thought both of them were going to die also.
But you agreed to an interview with the FBI as it's called a victim's interview in a situation.
They're coming in on Thursday to see me. And I thought I would. I'm so disappointed. If you took a poll of the FBI, I bet I get 95%, but not at the top level, not at the people, the
Why do
political
people not trust the upper echelon of the FBI at this point?
They've had a bad period of time. I mean, they raided Mar-a-Lago. That's not so good. And I guess we bring a suit. We won that whole case, and we won it the right way. We won it because we won it. We won it in court. It was a big thing. Hardly got any publicity. All they did is talk about the documents. I was allowed the Presidential Records Act, but we won the case, and the press hardly reports it. Now, with Biden, he really was convicted of that case. He was let go of that case. And by the way, you're talking about many more, and he didn't have Presidential Records Act. Just one thing, Laura. They said he was incompetent and therefore he can't stand trial, and yet he would have been allowed to be president. Think of that. So he sort of semi-won it. Of course, you don't want to have that kind of a victory. You win because you're incompetent. But he actually was guilty.
What was Melania's reaction, if you don't mind my asking? I know this is very personal, when she learned about what happened on that field in Butler?
She was watching.
Oh, she was watching in real
She
time?
was watching live. It was all over the place. It was on television. It's on your network, but it was all over the place. And she was watching. I asked her that. I mean, I wasn't there. I was on the ground. And when the world started to, like, you could talk to people, I said, so what was your feeling? And she was, she can't really even talk about it.
Traumatized.
Which is okay, because that means she likes me.
That's funny. I like that. Oh, it's okay. She feels this way because it means that she likes me. I mean, facts. I'd be very highly suspicious if my wife wasn't upset at all and was, could easily talk about me nearly getting killed. Like, that was funny. That was funny.
She loves me.
That's good.
I mean, let's say she could talk about it freely. That wouldn't be. I'm not so sure which is better. But she either likes or loves me, and that's nice. But I will say this: look, she was, when I went down, she thought the worst had happened because I went down, and I grabbed my, and I saw it was, my hand was loaded up with blood. You see it in.
Oh, FYI, the FBI has confirmed that Trump was hit by a bullet. They have confirmed that, by the way.
Slow motion, instant replay. We had hundreds of press there. So this was covered live. They would have had instant replay and everything else, which they already do in this. But supposing the worst happened, one man, Corey, was killed, hit horribly,
amazing man,
horribly in the head. And, to guard it, he was guarding his family.
That's why how important it is to get to the bottom of why this was allowed to occur. He died.
No, he died.
You almost died.
He died instantly. Instantly. He was dead immediately.
Here's more of my interview with former President Trump. They're also attacking you for other ridiculous reasons. They're saying that you said to a crowd of Christians that they won't have to vote in the future.
Yeah, let me say what did I mean by that. I had a tremendous crowd speaking to Christians. I mean, this was a crowd that liked me a lot. I think I'm at 97% or something. And they're treated very badly by this administration, okay? Catholics are treated unbelievably. They're like persecuted. And if I might say, before I go into the other, Jewish people, if you're Jewish and you vote for Biden or the Democrats or Kamala or whoever's going to run, I guess it's going to be her. But if you voted for her or the Democrats, you should have your head examined, because nobody's ever been treated so badly by this. This administration is destroying Israel, et cetera, et cetera. So with respect to
really
like a
just say
statement,
et cetera, et cetera. What the hell?
like I made, that statement is very simple. I said, vote for me. You're not going to have to do it ever again. It's true. Because we have to get the vote out. Christians are not known as a big voting group. They don't vote. And I'm explaining that to them. You never vote. This time, vote. I'll straighten out the country. You won't have to vote anymore. I won't need your vote. You can go back.
You don't have to vote for you because you have 4 years in office.
Look, Christians are known. You know who else doesn't vote? Gun owners don't vote.
But just to be clear, what you're saying, though, you're not saying, it's being interpreted as you are not surprised to hear.
No.
By the left as, well, they're never going to have another election. He's saying there's not. So can you even just respond to that?
I said Christians, I started off by saying, just so you understand, you never vote. Christians do not vote well. They vote in a very small percentage.
Look, I covered this when I covered this rally. What he's saying is you can vote this one time, vote for me one time, and then you don't have to vote if you don't want to. That's what we really actually saying.
Which is why, I don't know, maybe.
And I bumped it at 1.5 speed because it's taking longer than I thought.
They're disappointed in things that are happening, but for a long time, I say, you don't vote. I'm saying go out. You must vote. November 5th is going to be the most important election in the history of our country. Whether you vote early or not, we should have, by the way, one-day voting. We should have voter ID. We should have proof of citizenship, and we should have paper ballots, okay? That's what we should have, but we don't have that. But I said to the Christians in the room, thousands of them, I said, typically Christians do not vote. Why it is, I don't know. You're rebellious. Something's going on. Don't worry about the future. You have to vote on November 5th. After that, you don't have to worry about voting anymore. I don't care, because we're going to fix it. The country will.
See, you just said it. I don't care. If you never vote after this election, I don't care. See, that's what he's fucking saying.
will be fixed, and we won't even need your vote anymore because, frankly, we will have such
So, okay, hold on.
love. If you don't want to vote anymore, that's okay. And I think everybody understood it. I didn't know there was any.
Yeah, well, I mean, because it's the
Okay, so what he's saying is, I'll have it fixed that we won't need your vote, because what he's saying is they'll fix voter voter, so there's voter ID, shit like that. We'll have an election that that's actually fair, and because what he's saying is Christians don't normally vote that much anyways, so their votes essentially don't matter because they end up not really voting regardless. So their votes are kind of don't really matter that much, is what he's really saying. But he's saying, like, this time around they do matter. He wants as many votes as he could possibly get. So vote this election. I'll fix it so that when we have elections later on, it's going to be fair, and we won't need your vote anymore. That's what he's really saying. He's saying is, like, you don't normally vote, so we don't necessarily need your votes anyways. Vote this time though, and you won't have to vote again because I'll have it fixed, as in I'll have it so it's fair, and the people that are supposed to be able to vote, and only them who are supposed to be able to vote, can vote, and we won't have to have this concerned about fair elections. That's what he's saying.
constant refrain. I mean, he's after they have done all the things that we've talked about.
Horrible.
All of the things.
Russia, all the things.
And dump their guy of 52 years, just dump him to the side. So they do all that, and then they say, well, no, you can't vote for him because he's literally never going to leave office. They're actually still saying that.
Yeah. It's just unbelievable.
But you will leave office after 4 years.
By the way, I did last time. I kept hearing, he's not going to leave. He's not going to leave. Look, they are the ones that are a threat to democracy. Number one, they had an incompetent man as president, okay? Now they have somebody who's worse. She's sort of incompetent. She's not very smart, but she's very radical. Very radical. She will try and defund the police. She's going to try and defund.
Is she more of an extremist than most Americans today still understand?
Than Bernie. They say more than Bernie. More than Bernie Sanders.
He endorsed her.
Bernie Sanders is a major lunatic, okay? She's worse than Bernie Sanders. Now, she's trying to come back. She got rid of the laugh. I noticed I haven't seen that crazy laugh that she got. She's crazy. That laugh, that's the laugh of a crazy person. But I noticed that she's not using that laugh anymore. Somebody convinced her, don't laugh. Just don't laugh. Don't laugh under any circumstances because
I like laughter, but sometimes
not her laughter.
But she claims now she's tough. She's tough on crime. She was a tough prosecutor. Never the borders are.
She was a bad prosecutor. She was a prosecutor of black people. She put thousands and thousands of black people in jail over marijuana. But when it came to big crime, murders and everything else, she was weak. She would love to go after Trump. You know, she says, oh, Trump, 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 I did nothing wrong. They did a lot wrong, but I did nothing wrong. This was a totally manufactured deal. This was an attack on a political opponent. And she was involved in that with Biden. And so far it's backfired because people know this was an attack on a political opponent. She was a bad prosecutor in San Francisco. She led the cashless bail and all of the different things. She was the first of all of the bad prosecutors that have allowed. You know, if you look at the 25 top cities, they're basically all Democrat. The prosecutors are weak. She was the early. She destroyed. She's a San Francisco liberal.
They're pushing for debates with you.
Yeah.
It went down in flames with them last time, but they think they're going to get you. So you've been kind of a little unclear about whether you're going to debate or not. Will you commit tonight to debating?
So I like debating. I like debating. I've done a lot of debates, and I've won the debates. I think they say I won the election because of that. I don't mind. They were pushing for this early debate. I said, why do we want to do an early debate? It didn't make sense to me. It turned out I was right, but for the wrong reasons, right? I want to do a debate, but I also can say this. Everybody knows who I am, and now people know who she is. She's a radical left lunatic. She'll destroy our country. She wants open borders.
Why not debate her?
Well, wait. But because they already know everything. She wants to defund our police. She wants no bail. She wants no cash. You kill somebody and we're going to release you immediately. They call it cashless. That's it. By the way, this has been a horrible thing for our country. This has been what I just said.
Problem with Trump, he's rambling a bit here. He's a little rambling. Basically, why he's not going to debate Kamala? Because she hasn't been, she's not the nominee yet. She's not the nominee yet. Simple as that.
But we know where she is. She wants high taxes.
Well, they're going to say you're afraid of debating her. That's what they're going to say.
Well, they said that with Biden, too. You know, I was afraid. I did great with Biden, and I did great in every debate. I've had a lot of debates.
But you're winning on all the issues,
but, you know, I'm leading in the polls by, I think, a lot. I don't know. I hear different numbers. But I'm leading in all of the polls. I'm leading big in all of the swing states. And I say this. The answer is yes, I'll probably end up debating. I think, actually, the debate should take place before the votes start being cast. You know, I had a very good second debate with Biden. I really beat him badly. The problem was 30-40% of the votes were already cast. If you're going to have a debate, you got to do it, I think, before the votes are cast. I think it's very important that you do that. So the answer is yes, but I can also make a case for not doing it. Also, I don't like rewarding fake news. I don't like rewarding the people that have been, they're going to make tens of millions of dollars with this debate. I don't like ABC.
I understand what he's saying, but yeah, I think regardless, if she's the nominee, Trump should debate her, and then and what'll happen is he'll probably end up exposing how terrible she is in the debate. They'll say Gabbard ended her presidential campaign in a debate. Come on.
it's a terrible, terrible outfit. I don't like that ABC is going to get rich. George Slopadopoulos, as I call him. I don't like it's such. I mean, these are such bad people. I don't like that ABC is going to get rich. I don't like, and I will say something that when CNN did the last one, they were very fair. Jake Tapper was very fair.
Well, maybe just you and her, Vice President Harris in a room together with no moderators.
I don't mind that. I don't mind anything. Look, I don't mind. We can do any form of a
They should have the debate on Rumble. Rumble, reach out to Trump, say you'll host the debate.
You know, when they asked me to do the debate, they didn't think I was going to do it because they offered me the two heads, the two announcers, whatever you'd call them, the referees, call them whatever you want. But I have to say they were both very fair. It was CNN. They wanted to sit down. I said, no, I don't want to sit down. You can't sit down. They want to sit down. They offered me everything that I couldn't accept, and I accepted it. I accepted everything. And we had a debate. It was a great debate. It was actually, maybe it was a mistake. Maybe I shouldn't have debated so well because if I didn't, that was the end of him. Because from that day on, you could see that he was not going to be, in my opinion, I said, I don't think he's going to make it anymore.
Yeah, it was. That debate did expose the truth about Biden, how cognitive inept he was.
Now I have her. I would rather run against her than him. I think she's easier than he is because he had a certain, I always felt he was,
Scranton Joe.
I always felt he was incompetent, but he had a certain base. And no matter how bad he was, people were going to vote for him. She doesn't have that base.
Coming up, what does former President Trump think of the Olympics opening ceremony? That's next. Have you watched any of the Olympics?
I thought that the opening ceremony was a disgrace, actually. I thought it was a disgrace.
The mocking of the Last Supper.
I thought it was
Catholics and Christians across the globe are outraged.
I mean,
it also removed the spotlight on these weirdos. These weirdos. It removed the spotlight from these weirdos and put it on, it removed the spotlight from who it's supposed to be about, the athletes that are competing, onto these weirdos. That's another thing.
They can do certain things. I thought it was terrible.
Can you say at the next Olympics, if you're present, you'll have enough influence on the organizers that we won't be, insulting Christians?
We won't be having a Last Supper as portrayed the way they portrayed it the other night. I just think, look, I'm for everybody. I'm very open-minded. You understand. You know me better than most people know me. I'm very open-minded. But I thought what they did was a disgrace.
Now to more of my interview with President Trump. So you're going back to Butler to finish that speech.
That's a G move. He's like, you guys tried to get me. You guys tried to kill me. I'm coming back. I'm not fucking leaving.
Give another.
I'm going back to. It's interesting to finish it. You say, and now to proceed
continued,
from
to be continued.
Yeah, I mean,
why?
It's a very interesting way of looking at it.
I mean, I think that's. I think I've said that was a good idea. It's a good idea. Why?
I think it's important symbolically. I don't think we should be stopped by somebody that has severe mental problems or whatever his problem was.
You're going to do rallies outside.
Yeah, I'm going to do rallies.
A lot of predictable backbiting and media pig piles on your vice presidential choice, J.D. Vance. They're stereotyping him as some, out of control, knee-jerk, conservative, et cetera, et cetera. But some of it's coming from Republicans who I think want to go back to the days of open borders and perpetual war. How do you expect to use him in this campaign? And what can you say to our viewers tonight to reassure them that this was an excellent pick?
Well, first of all, he's got tremendous support, and he really does among a certain group of people that like families. I mean, he made a statement having to do with families. That doesn't mean that people that aren't a member of a big and beautiful family with 400 children around and everything else, it doesn't mean that a person he's not against anything, but he loves family. It's very important to him. He grew up in a very interesting family situation, and he feels family is good. And I don't think there's anything wrong in saying that. Now, they took that as an indication that people that don't have families, look, I could see.
It's an easy opening, right?
It's so crazy. Easy. But I know so many people, they never met the right person, male or female, they just never met the right person. They're unbelievable. They're every bit as good as anybody else that has the most beautiful.
What do you say to women out there watching? He's addressed it, but what do you say to women out there watching?
I think they
not have kids?
I think they understand it. No, I think they understand it. The Democrats are good at spinning things differently from what they were. All he said is he does like, for him, he likes family. I think a lot of people like family, and sometimes it doesn't work out. And you know why? You don't meet the right person, or you don't meet any person, but you're just as good. In many cases, a lot better than a person that's in a family situation. But they took it and they spun it differently. When you listen to his words, you helped me very much when you analyzed the what was said in Charlottesville. And what I said was perfect. But they stopped it after the first sentence.
Classic.
They didn't put the second sentence and the third sentence. And you were actually very helpful in that. You were the first one that picked that up. And once that happened, all of a sudden, and now every time you see Joe Biden with that phony story that he ran for president because of Charlottesville, it's just.
Did he drop out because of Charlottesville too?
Come on. Well, he dropped out, and it's really, he truly did. That was a coup on an American president, and Obama doesn't like him.
That's that's a good talking point for him. That's a good talking point for him.
And he doesn't like Obama.
Do you believe that Cy Hirsch reporting that Obama basically through various channels, maybe even directly to Biden, said, look, Joe, you either leave or they're going to use
That's
the
what
25th
happened.
Amendment.
We'll do it the easy way or the hard way.
Some version of that story. Do
that's what
you
happened.
find that plausible?
That's what happened. I mean, the bad part is that it's not, they talk about a threat to democracy. They're a threat to democracy because they should have gone out to see who it is. Now, I like this better because I'd rather run against him than I think any one of the people that we're talking about, or they could get it. I think I probably would prefer running against her more than running against anybody else. She's a disaster.
You're the clear favorite, by the way, in the top 3 issues: the economy, immigration, inflation. So let's start with the economy. What would your policies do to bring down inflation so people understand? Like you said, we're going to have a great economy, but how?
So pretty easy. He blew it with energy, with oil prices, gasoline prices, and he really blew it because it went up. I was at $1.87. They went up to $5, $6, and they're going up again, by the way, if you're not watching. Drill, baby, drill. If we get energy down, everything else is going to follow. It's the most important thing. Additionally, we have to keep all of these people that are causing this country a fortune. We're giving them healthcare, we're giving them schooling, we're giving them hospitals. They're taking up our hospitals.
Illegal
We have to close up the border. We cannot afford, no country can afford to take millions of people and support them. And you know what? Where they're living right now, most of them are coming just because they think this is a great opportunity to come. They weren't dying where they're living. They lived there, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent. They weren't dying. They're coming here because you look at guys like Gavin Newsom, where he says openly, come here, come to us, we're going to take you in.
All right, that's the end of it. It was a pretty good interview. I think it rambled a lot more. That's not big. There's no issues with that. But he rambled a lot. So, obviously it's going to be used against him. And people are saying, oh, he's incompetent. He got some mental decline, blah, blah, blah. I think he's fine. I do look forward to the debate between him and Kamala. I think that's going to be great. And he might end up knocking out two separate presidential candidates in the Democratic Party. But we'll see. All right, let's get to it. So, like I said, Sneako and Moist Critical had a debate, basically centered around consent, age of consent, shit like that. Although I don't agree with Sneako's stance, I understand what he's getting at. I understand that. And I don't agree with it, but he did have at least, it seemed a more well thought out stance than Moist Critical did on his particular one. So let's just listen. So I have it all in order. I got a couple of clips. It's all in order. So this is what was first said during the debate.
I'm talking about your personal beliefs. Do you think someone in their 20s should be able to marry a 15 or 16-year-old?
To someone in their 20s should be, I mean, I personally wouldn't do it. I don't know many people who would do it. The maturity for people in the teenagers in the West is getting much worse, but there are.
We're talking globally. Let's just talk globally. Like, do you think it is okay for, I'm not talking about just you specifically anymore, anyone. Do you think it's okay for anyone in their 20s, an adult, to marry a 15 or 16-year-old?
A 21-year-old, if there was a marriage where the father consented and the daughter consented, and it was both good on both families and they wanted to do it, why am I going to get involved? Why should we get the government involved?
Well,
why would I tell them if everybody's consenting, if everybody's okay with it, if the parents are okay with it, if nobody's being harmed, if it's going to be okay, if they're both abiding by the rules and they're not hurting each other, why not?
But they're still, like, they're at best a sophomore in high school. They can't consent to something like that. Like, do you?
Okay. So again, it was basically, he wasn't really advocating for old, 21-year-olds to date, to marry 15-year. What he was talking about was he was getting the topic really just circled around consent and age. Sneako's talking about, hey, when you reach maturity, you are no longer a child, so you should be able to, if you want to, get married and all this stuff, blah blah fucking blah. It's basically what it was. So, and what he talked about was, what he was actually seeming to be thinking is like, if two 16-year-olds wanted to get married and the families consented, everyone consented, then there's nothing wrong with that. And that should be fine. And what he says there, he's like, if a 21-year-old wants to marry a 15-year-old and everyone consents, meaning she consented, her family's consented, and then, the 21-year-old, he consented, his family consented, blah, blah, then what's the big problem? Again, I don't agree with his stance, but I understand what he's getting at. And he's also getting at the fact that it's not a simple, like, just go and bang someone. It's more like in the prospects of a marriage. So, if you're going to get married, stop with the hookup culture. Everyone is just supposed to get married before they have sex, etc. So that's in his, like, in this worldview he has, it would be in a world where everyone was, everyone wasn't interested in just doing a bunch of hookup stuff. They were all just going in with the thought of marriage and things of that nature. So again, I don't agree with it, but I understand his point of view. Is everyone consents? Okay, everyone's consenting. The family, the individual, like he's not advocating for a 20-year-old to go grab a 15-year-old. We're married and walk away with our caveman style. He's saying, like, 21-year-old approaches the father. The father looks into the 21-year-old and gets a sense of him, and decide, and then says, all right, I consent. And then we go to the daughter. She, talks to him, gets a sense of him. She agrees, she consents. The 21-year-old obviously consents, and then his family consents. So it's just a thing between families that end up becoming a union of the family. I understand what he means. So he's saying, like, if they're two consenting, if they both consent to it, the families consent to it, why the hell should I get in the middle of it? Okay. Now again, Sneako's idea is that, like, he doesn't think this will happen very often, and what he actually is thinking is mostly two 15-year-olds are gonna would be getting married more often than not, or people at the relatively the same age would get married more often than not. That was his general idea. So now let's re-listen to what Sneako said about this whole thing here, because it's kind of important.
A 15 or 16-year-old.
A 21-year-old, if there was a marriage where the father consented and the daughter consented, and it was.
And again, listen, the key thing there is marriage. Okay. And now, very interesting. Listen to this whole consent part here again.
Both good on both families, and they wanted to do it. Why am I going to get involved? Why should we get the government involved? Why would I tell them if everybody's consenting, if everybody's okay with it, if the parents are okay with it, if nobody's being harmed, if it's going to be okay, if they're both abiding by the rules and they're not hurting each other, why not?
So there we go. So if everyone's consenting, everyone agrees, why not? So this becomes important, because here's why that's important. Whether you agree with, Sneako's stance or not, doesn't matter. Here's why that's important. Hilarious.
Do you believe that somebody can go through hormone therapy? Can they change their gender if they're a child?
I think that's totally fine as long as everyone is.
You see that smile? Sneako's like, dude, I got you. Because Moist Critical, prior to this question, was making a big deal about this whole, teenagers getting married, shit like that. Even though Sneako's advocating for marriage and consent of everyone, everything, and Moist Critical thought that was terrible, horrible, blah blah blah. So now, when asked about, cutting people's dicks off, it's okay because everyone consented.
Consenting, as you agree with.
Okay, so as long as everyone,
your parents are okay with it and you are okay with it, I think that's totally a familial decision to make. Yeah.
Okay, so a child can cut their penis off and take hormone blockers and change their biology forever, but they can't get married.
Oh, that's a decision that now extends beyond the family.
That doesn't make any sense. Like, his stance doesn't make any sense. And Sneako kind of flopped on this as well. But his stance doesn't make sense. He's saying, well, now you're involving an other family. Yeah, but that other family, like the people outside that family, is also consenting. So everyone's consenting. It's all a giant consent between everyone. So his point doesn't make any sense here. Okay, it doesn't make any sense. So now he's like, well, because it's a child and he wants to cut off his dick, and the parents and the kids consenting, that's okay. But if the parents and the kid are also consenting with another parent and kid who are consenting, that's not okay. You see the flaw in his logic here? It's very flawed.
Because now you're bringing in a different party. So if you have someone that's your age coming in saying, I want to marry that child, I don't think that can happen under any circumstance.
So
no.
But it's still a personal decision. You're still deciding.
Because there's
take the other party out of the equation. It's a personal decision. If I'm 16 and I personally want to marry this girl, she's beautiful. She's 21 years old. Her family wants to do it. My family wants to do it. You're saying I can't do that. We're both consenting. I'm ready to go. I'm physically mature. But I'm not allowed to marry because Moy says that woman's a pedophile. But if then the next day I leave it, I'm depressed, I want to cut my penis off, I can go right into the clinic, snip it off, and start taking HRT like Chris Tyson. That's a society that makes sense to you?
Like, again, think of the logic. Again, you don't have to agree with Sneako on this. At least Sneako, during his debate, his logic made sense. He had like Moist Critical says, oh, well, there's a number. It has to be a number. He was, very firm on 18. And then he kind of waffled on it. He's like, well, if it's a 17-year-old and a 19-year-old, that's not too bad. Or it's also bad. He's not he's bad, but not really, all this shit. But then, and so it was very arbitrary of his thinking. He was like, oh, it's definitely 18, but then maybe sometimes a 17 and 19-year-old, it's okay. But Sneako was like, look, once you hit maturity, once you hit basically puberty, you should be considered an adult. When it comes to marriage and shit like that, I guess. Maturity. Once you've reached maturity, you should be able to get married with someone else type of shit. That was his line. And it didn't falter. It's like, once you hit maturity, you should be able to get married. That type of situation. And then Moist Critical, like I said, he kept waffling. He was like, no, 18, is the age. Anything under 18, no good. You're a bad person. Well, if it's a 17 and a 19-year-old, I guess that's okay because of the Romeo and Juliet laws. And it was up in the airs and stuff. But this was really funny. And then they get into this debate about, the whole, 15-year-old and a 21-year-old wanting to get married and shit. If everyone consented, Moise was like, hey, this is bad. You shouldn't do this. But then when it comes to permanently altering your body, that would affect you for a lifetime. Okay. And would destroy, any hope of you actually having children, I think. That's okay because the parents are consenting and the child consenting. But again, if the parents and the child are consenting, and then we go to this other people and their parents and their child are consenting, what's the fucking problem? The logic doesn't make any sense here. And Moise is like, well, you're involving other people at that point. Well, if you're cutting off your dick and shit, that involves. That was Sneako's point. Was if you're cutting off your dick and shit, you're involving other people in that aspect too. So this logic of Moist Critical doesn't make any sense, and this is where he actually ended. And this happened very on in the debate, and this is kind of where he ended up losing the debate because he has inconsistent logic here. Okay, it doesn't make sense. Okay, if you think it's okay for if you think a teenager, kid, whatever, can cut off their dick as long as everyone consents, then why shouldn't you be okay with a teenager, a kid, or whatever getting married if everyone consents to it? You see the flaw in that logic? That's why Moist Critical ended up losing this debate this year in particular.
It is. I believe everyone has complete. Yep. I believe everyone has the right to do with their body what they want to do.
Oh.
So that's what. Again, the logic doesn't make. Again, I don't agree with Sneako. I think I think it's weird. I think it's weird, but he has at least a steady stance on where he's at. Because in his mind, he's thinking what's generally going to happen is two 15-year-olds are going to get together and they're going to get married. And an outlier will be a 21-year-old will marry a 15-year-old once in a while. That's Sneako's thinking. So I understand where he's coming from. I get what he means and all that. And I understand his stance. Moist Critical doesn't have a real stance. He's like, well, they're, here's the thing. Even if it was two 15-year-olds, they want to get married. The whole family consents. That's not okay. But if one 15-year-old's like, I'm really sad, I'm going to cut off my dick or my vagina, then that's okay because everyone consented. Like it's not something that's actually consistent, and that's why he lost and everyone's roasting him. All right, so apparently after the debate, he broke down and rage quit. So let's listen to this.
You can get therapy. You can go through the process of making that decision. I thought that's what it was. I thought he was just speaking in hyperbole with the dick cutting off shit. I thought that's what we were talking about. And then if you decide that's the path you want to take, it is your body. You can do that. You can make that decision once you become of age to make a decision like that. I just don't understand how it got so muddled. Half of the fucking conversation was hyperbole, and apparently that one was literal. Or it's a very malicious attack on what I'm trying to say or misunderstanding. I don't know. But I think I'm just going to call it there. All right. Take it easy. Have a
I don't know. Yeah, you don't know a lot. All right. And then this recently happened. So Moist Critical's confused why Sneako's isn't not getting backlash after the debate. So let's listen to what he has to say.
Easy is. Sneako isn't even in a misunderstanding. He literally advocates for 12 to 15-year-olds to marry adults. And he's the good guy. It's craziness.
I get.
We live in the loony dimension. Easy is.
So again, I think it's a gross mischaracterization. And also he hasn't uploaded debate, which also is hurting him. So another thing that's hurting him, he's Moist Critical is yet to actually upload a debate, which also hurts him. But the thing is with Sneako is like, we may not like his stance, but his stance is understand. You can understand his stance on it. You can disagree with it, but you can get where he's coming from. And again, he's thinking more typically. It's going to be like two 15-year-olds or some of the, close in age that are going to get married more often than not. And maybe an outlier here and there of something else, which again, I get, but at least his stance is consistent. But when Moist Critical is like, it's age consent, everything's all good, then go ahead, cut off your dick, sew up your vagina. That's fine. But then if two, adults, if those same 15-year-olds decide to cut off their dick and sew up their vagina, that's completely fine. But if they want to get married to each other, that's not fine. Doesn't make any sense. Okay. Doesn't make any sense, which is why Moist Critical lost. All right. Last but simply not least, it's going to be the end of it. So, black man wrongfully convicted of 50 years to life, speaks out about Kamala.
In 2008, I was framed for murder and wrongfully convicted by the office of Kamala Harris, sentenced 50 to life in prison. It took me 5.5 years to ultimately get back in the trial due to prosecutorial misconduct, and it took me another year to go to my second trial, to which I was vindicated by a jury of my peers. When I got convicted, Kamala Harris was in the courtroom. When I got sentenced 50 to life in prison, Kamala Harris was in the courtroom. When I looked back and I seen her, she was smiling. And she did that stupid ass laugh that she do right now. This shit ain't funny.
So there you go. That's the end of it. Interesting. So this guy's come out and I was wrongfully convicted. This is horrible. And Kamala did this to me. Should we Trump should be using this. Trump should bring that guy and after he verifies the story, of course, and bring that guy and put him on his next rally or whatever. So So what do you guys think? We talk about things. What do you think of SCOTUS reform? Do you think we need that? You think it's actually possible? Or do you think, like me, it's a complete and utter political stunt that actually doesn't mean shit? Okay? Is that what you think? That's what I think. What do you think of Trump's interview? Do you think he did all right? I think he rambled a lot, but, he did fine regardless. But what do you think? And the Sneako versus the most critical debate. What do you think? You think he did a good job? I think Moist Critical failed. Obviously failed. But what do you think? Like, and let's get the feelings out. All right, like whether you agree with Sneako's stance or not, it's irrelevant at this point. What do you think he did in the actual debate? Okay. Again, I don't like. I don't agree with what Sneako says, but I understand, and at least he's fairly consistent in his point. And then what do you think about this black man who was convicted wrongfully by Kamala? Terrible. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you like and subscribe. Tomorrow, we're going to check out a Jubilee video where they had a debate between Democrats and Republicans over Trump. And it got, I guess, heated, maybe. Got a little heated. So we're going to watch that unless something happens that overshadows that. But I don't think it will. So we're going to check that out tomorrow. I hope you have a good day. Peace out. And I will see you later.